I have two levels of web design courses. The first one, I have them use BB-Edit or Taco, one of those sort of text-based editors, because I want them to really understand what those tags mean. I've had a lot of students come in that have used Dreamweaver, have used Go Live, and don't get me wrong, you can get really deep into those programs and do some great things, but you can also go in there and do a drag and drop, never work with the code at all. And therefore, if that student just learns that, they come into my class and then they don't know how to add a different image or change that website, which is important because if they leave here and they go work for new media at Verve, I actually have a kid there now, and they already have an established website, they may or may not use Dreamweaver or a tool that kid knows. They need to be able to go in there, tweak the code, move things around, make changes, really understand what they're doing. The second level, we do go in, we go into Dreamweaver, we go into Flash, we go into some of those programs. They are the most common ones, but not everyone uses the same ones. Also with some of the newer database-driven websites, I know yours is one, and I'm working on one for our department, knowing that code really helps you go in and tweak it and change things from how it comes as the package. If you don't know that, it's very difficult to kind of move things around and get them to work the way that you want them to. I do find that there's a kid who'll come in and say, oh look, I did these websites, can I test into the higher level course? And they built a beautiful site, but they built a site using a tool and they don't really know how they did it. If I said, well, can you change this? Can you change that? I think that that's really how I try to figure out where their skills are, is if I ask them to take something that's existing and make it look a certain way. Or I'll draw a design and say, can you build something that looks like that? Simple, but as far as just the structure of it. That'll help me. Also though, with the database-driven websites, there's just a lot of cool stuff that you can pull in there they have components that come with them. You can plug in all of these different things. But again, if you know those underlying skills, you can do a lot more with them. So that's really what I do to try to judge it. When we look at these in a class, we really kind of try to look at these sites. I'd like to bring examples that are extremely bad as far as, looking at them and going, well, that's obviously bad. What about one that looks really cool, but you have no idea where to find anything? So it's really about, if you know nothing about this website, do they have their navigation in a very obvious way? Is it easy to know where it is? What's going to happen when I click on it? Or did they name their sections something that means something to them, but means nothing to someone that has never been to that site before? So it's really about having something that's very customer friendly that they can find, and we time it too. We say, okay, I want you to find this on the site. How quickly can you find it? And that's really important, I think. Well, I would first want some examples of their work. Obviously, I think that's the first thing I would look for. Look to see, have they worked with any sort of Web 2.0 content management system sort of applications. A lot of kids like Flash now, so that's a common thing they want to know. But is that the type of site that's going to allow a customer to get there, find out the information they want, and leave? Generally, customers want to do that sort of thing within a couple minutes. If they have to wait for a Flash intro to load, something like that, nobody's time for that, really. So being able to find someone that can do a simple design, yet an effective design, one that's going to be customer-friendly interface. What they want to do with their site is important, so they have to speak to that person and find out, well, do they want some sort of, are they going to be selling anything on that site? Are they going to be storing information on these customers? Do they want to be able to search on any kind of information, pull other information in from other places? So that makes a big difference as far as the skills that they would need to have that person have. Well, e-commerce, there's a lot of different definitions for it. Mainly they're looking at any kind of buying, selling interaction online, for having people to be able to communicate with one another, to pass information back and forth. If they want to sell products, get information out to their customers, they need to have some sort of online way of doing that. Of course, that's evolving from initially where it was more like, we're going to put our brochure or a catalog online, and you're just looking there and getting information. Now it's a lot more customer-centric. So people can actually interact directly with the company. They can put up their opinions. They can put up their favorites, their lists. They can even do more. Customer service is becoming more where it's live chat. It's instantaneous. You're not waiting for somebody to get back to you. So those sorts of things are really kind of bringing things more to today's times, I would say. Web 2.0, it's kind of, that's a funny term too. There's a lot of people throwing it around and just, I don't know if they really mean what it means, what it's supposed to mean initially. It's supposed to mean more of a customer-centric and interactive sort of style as opposed to the here's our information, come look at it and get it, and send us an email if you have a question. It's more the idea of, I think Amazon is always a great example because I do all of these things, and people know it, is the fact that people can go and put up their opinions about a book or a product. And other people can make their judgments on that. They can put up a list of their favorite books. Other people can come see them. So it's more the idea of that sort of interaction, sort of like the MySpace idea too. Of, I can put up all my stuff and you can look at it. I can add things, take them away. I can take your stuff and plug it into mine. So having the customer be able to have more of a closer relationship with the company and interact with other customers. I think that customers like to be able to know what other customers think. I think that's a very valuable tool. And can it make a company look good or it can make them look bad? So functioning at that level, there's a bunch of them. If I can focus and get one. Of course, I always say Amazon because I like to choose ones that are not totally out there. I know even Gateway Computers. If you go on there, you can choose your parts, say I want to build this computer, and then you can say I need help. Click a button and a person comes on and chats directly with you. And I think that's, people want that instant help. And I think that's also, you're finding, I was just reading an article actually in eWeek yesterday, and it was talking about how people are getting, sales in retail stores has dropped, I think it was some crazy percent, like 35%. Over the past 3 years, because people are unhappy going into the store and not being able to get that instant sort of help, you know, that you can get online. You can say, okay, well, I can go in Macy's and dig through all this stuff and try to find these jeans that I want. They say are on sale. I can go on the website, find it, say this is what I want, click on it, and it gets sent to me. Yeah, I'm not getting it instantly, but I'm finding what I want instantly. I'm not digging through things and going into the store and seeing it as a huge mess, stuff all over the floor. That was like one of the examples. So I think that's a good example. Another one I would say would be like Circuit City, that you can go in there and you can get instant help, and they recommend other things to you. I think that's another very common tool now. If you like this, you might like that. People that bought this will buy this. If you're buying this, you'll probably need this. In other words, don't buy the TV and then not buy the cables. You're going to have trouble. So that's helpful. I really like, I wish I could remember the author, there's a book called The Death of E. I think that's kind of a nice one to look at. It's just talking about, I mean, even though, yes, I'm studying e-commerce, a graduate program and an MBA program, and I do recommend those programs, but you also still need to have that basic business information. You're not going in and just looking at e-commerce anymore. I mean, there's not necessarily just a web group anymore. Those groups have to work with marketing directly. They don't have their own separate sections to them now. So that book I like a lot because it talks about more of the integration of all of this into one big business, an assumed business. I like that one. As far as the music business, I always like Promises to Keep by Terry Fisher at Harvard. That's a good one. And there's one, I do think another important topic is if you're going to do any kind of business online, is to think about the different legal implications of an online business. Copyright, trademark law, very different when it comes to online business. Privacy issues, if you're collecting data, you better make sure you're telling people how it's being used very clearly. Security, even Bank of America has been hacked into and people's information's gotten taken out of there. So I'm trying to remember the book that I'm taking now. I think it's just called Cyber Law, but I don't remember one of the authors is F.E., I think it's Farrar. I'll have to check on that one also. But there's being on top of that sort of information. I think intellectual property law, very important. Fair use. A lot of people pulling stuff in. I mean, MySpace has gotten in a lot of trouble for that. YouTube also. Just because, and kids in colleges, a lot of them want to come and take stuff and put it in their paper, drag and drop, just take pictures, take content, and that's fine as they're learning something. And I try to explain to them while we're doing web design, okay, you can borrow this stuff for this project, but we can't put this up online, you can't continue to use it. And understanding that this stuff is still owned property by someone. You can't just use it. Oh, it's online, it's free, it's fair use. It's not true. Mobile commerce. I'm excited about that. I read a lot, Business Week and sort of information like that. I like to kind of keep on top of what are they doing, especially globally, because the web is a global marketplace. So not only when I was just speaking about the legal implications, even trademarks. You want a trademark here, you better buy it in China if you want to do business in China, for example. But I'm excited about the wireless technologies, looking at what they're doing in Japan and some of these other countries where, you can walk up to a parking meter and you can pay your parking meter with your phone. You can buy a Pepsi with your phone. That sort of thing. And we don't have that ability here simply because right now we have all of these different wireless phone companies using different technology to allow people, so you can only buy a Verizon phone and work on the Verizon network, for example. If they get a common technology that they're using, which is what they do in Japan, then you can do things like this. Because they can secure it more easily. The problem here is security. I mean, you're starting to see people, PayPal has a mobile program that they have. Bank of America is starting one. Do I trust it yet? Not necessarily. So, my love for technology, well, it came from, I think, working in the field for IDG, and then continuing on in graduate studies that I'm doing now. It's really getting inside of the technology, not just using it. I get so excited about, there's so much that comes out and I can't stay on top of all of it. I try, believe me. I'm excited to see all the different tools that are out there, what you can do with them. I download stuff, I get whatever I can to play with and see what I can do with it. But also reading about what are all these different companies doing with it, things that you might not have ever thought of, or entrepreneurial minds that they're thinking of these great things and then finding people to build them. They may not necessarily know how to build it, but they can find people that can build it and having those ideas. I think that's exciting. How it ties into music. The industry changing like it is, being in flux for quite some time. I'm excited to see what can technology do to help it, to help us get out of this sort of limbo, what's going to happen sort of thing. Again, I love the mobile commerce. I like the idea of being able to, pick up a song, out of the air, pretty much, wirelessly beaming songs to people, that sort of stuff. I like the idea of being able to finding different ways to tie music into entertainment, not just looking at it as a separate entity as the music industry. I think we're seeing a lot more of that, and I think that that's an interesting path we're going on. I have my Xbox, it's an older Xbox, but I love that too, the games. When I get the games and I see all the music that's going into these games. I like doing the skater games and because I like the music better, it's fun. But I also like, some of the Medal of Honor and some of those, games are fun, but the music's not as good. But seeing that that's a whole new market that you can get into to try to get music in there and expose people to other music besides than, what's on the radio and what's on a TV commercial. I think that that's important, and I'd like to kind of see that, okay, I can download a new module or another level to this game. Once I get to a certain level, I can buy other levels and get other music, Because, you know, when you play the same levels, you're trying to get through them and you keep hearing that song. After a while, you know, so it would be nice to kind of switch that up too. Before it was like, oh, you have your manager and you have your lawyer. Having somebody that has some kind of technology background or has a mind that can think about what are some different ways we can take this music and what can we do with it. I think that's a great idea. Whether it's a band member, which after a while might be a little bit busy. I know here, the kids that end up in music business and they take some of these courses, they're the ones building the websites. They're the ones going and even putting up their stuff on MySpace, figuring out ways to market their music online and get it to other places. So I think having somebody, whether it's somebody in the band or somebody that's, you know, working with the band, important. We kind of thought some of these courses would be phased out within a few years. But I do still have some kids that come in that really struggle. They didn't have any technology background in their high school, or they just didn't really, you know, grab onto it or relate to it well. So I try to kind of pull them along, and a lot of those kids I've found that they get excited about it. Some of them continue to hate technology. Other ones, though, they really start to get excited about it. And when they get excited about it, then they want to learn all that they can about it. And yes, I definitely am finding, because they're doing a lot more of this in high school, that kids are coming in with more skills than they did even 3 years ago, 4 years ago. That pushes the technology industry to make better tools. Tools that can do more, tools that are easier to look at. I remember some of the older programs, you'd open them up and it was like, oh, it was almost like they made them that difficult so that you had to hire a special person to do it, to set it up for you. Now they're making them so that they're a lot more friendly for people to go in there and use. So therefore, when a kid opens it up for the first time, they don't look at it and go, oh my God, you know, that's intimidating. So it's more easy for them to jump in and try it and try to figure it out. I think that's helping a lot. I was reading that there's probably those programs, Word, PowerPoint, and Excel are probably used maybe a third to their extent that they can be used. I try to delve into them myself. I know myself. I wrote a lot of cover letters, papers, you know, and that was all I needed. So every time a new version comes out or an update comes out, I'm going through to see what's new, what else can I do with it, and try to pull that into the class. So that when they come in there, even though it is trying to get them more comfortable with the programs or brushing them up on things they may have missed in high school, but to show them, hey, you can also do this. Did you know you could, you know, edit some pictures in this? Did you know you could make interactive forms in it? You know, different things that they may not have known that they could do. Definitely, I think the forms is one that they don't use. That's one that I teach them, which is helpful. It makes, you know, you can lock a document. So what I do is I take a legal form. A band partnership agreement is what I have. Showing them that, yeah, you could print this out, fill it out, and send it to somebody. But you could also lock this form, put in form elements like text fields, check boxes, drop-down menus. That's the only thing that these people can, that whoever you send it to, can change. Then when you get that back, you can then, of course, you know, edit it, make it look the way you want, print it out, have have them sign it all together or whatever with the witnesses. But the fact that they can do that, I don't think that a lot of kids know that. Working with document collaboration, I like to show them that, how you can have a lot of different people sharing a document, passing it around, having their comments show up so you can see what's been changed from time to time. Then after you make a finalized document, you can have those not show up anymore, but that type of thing. I think that those are some of the main things that the kids don't know about how to use. I usually point them, since we use Macintosh, I point them to Mactopia website. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. Not only there's templates up there, but there's also, it's another kind of community website. So you see people put up examples of things that they've done. and have little lessons too of how do you do this, how do you do that. And some of them are very short, just showing you one basic thing, how to edit pictures in Word without having to go and get Photoshop or something. You can do a lot of the basic things on there. That's another one. We were talking about a community website. I like that one for that too. And Adobe's same thing. You can go up there and say, I need to know how to do this. And when I look it up in the help, it's telling me some, the basic idea to how to do it, but I want to see an example of it. I want to see how this is something that I can do that's going to be helpful. So those are good places for that. I do work with some basic programs, GarageBand, Logic, Audacity, which I think is a great one. I show in summer workshops to people that come in because I talk about some basic marketing and some basic web design things in those workshops. And I want to show them a tool that's free, that works for Windows or Macintosh, and they can use to just, make sound clips, fade in, fade out, tweak up the tunes, put them up on the web. So I usually show them. That's one tool that I really like to show them. So I wish I got to do a lot more with that than I do. At Berklee, with our laptop program, we do include iLife that does have GarageBand in it. We also give them Reason, which is a sequencing program. Why I like GarageBand, Logic, Audacity, I like those because you can do MIDI programming, have it record that, and you can do, live vocals, live instruments. You're not confined to using, a keyboard or something to get your sounds. So I think that those are fun programs and they're easy. So GarageBand is very user-friendly. I think that you see so many kids, if you can go to garageband.com, all of the stuff that these people are putting up there, it's great to see. With a lot of the websites being database driven, meaning that, someone's going to come in and content is being pulled out specific to that person according to either who they are, what they've bought before, any type of thing like that. Understanding how those databases are built, understanding that I could teach a class and say, let me teach you how to use Microsoft Access, and just teach them a program. But really understanding why data is separated a certain way, what is going to make that data have integrity, how you're going to trust that data that's in the database. It can be a little bit tedious, a little bit out there for some kids. There's a lot of logic involved in how you split this data up, but that's also how you're going to, even if you're building something, a personal database on FileMaker Pro or Access, making sure you're building something that you can trust that data, that you're not just dumping stuff in there and then you're finding out that, oh, you've got a lot of redundant information in there, you've got stuff that has been put in 5 different ways. So how to avoid those kinds of issues is important. It's funny, I find some of the database books can really, get very complicated with the math. I don't believe you have to do some of the basic background stuff. As far as Excel though, when I get into using Excel, I really like to get them to understand what they're doing when they're using these formulas and building, these different different spreadsheets with this information in there. What does it mean, what they're doing? And how to see, what they're doing, is that correct? Just building a formula, if it's not really correct, you're giving somebody incorrect data. You're not really understanding what you're trying to get back to that person. So I usually, really basic math. It doesn't have to be anything overly complicated, but I'd say at least get up to a certain algebra level. I think business math is really helpful if you take accounting, basic financial formulas, and a lot of those are just, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but it's a way of figuring out, return on investment, different, click-through when it comes to marketing online. So there's a lot of those little formulas, and I actually try to integrate those into our Excel lessons so that they can be aware of those types of things. When they leave here, they could go into, work for a marketing person and understand what are the formulas that they're looking for. What does this information actually mean? I do think when they walk onto their Word, Excel, and PowerPoint are going to be the general programs they're going to use in any office. However, what database program they're going to use could be different. Same with like when we talked about the HTML programs. So I try to get into, okay, this, when I'm using this terminology, it might be called this, this, or this. All of these things mean the same thing. And they think I'm crazy at first, but then I start showing them examples. Oh, you could read about this in this book and look what it says. And I don't want people to be confused. So technology as a whole, you know, it's a whole new language. So any kind of business person or musician, whether they want to be the one that's building their applications or doing the technology, understanding the language so that they can communicate with other people or be able to communicate with technologists and say, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for. I found that even at IDG, it was an invaluable skill to be able, I worked in engineering, but being able to communicate, I worked with a lot of engineers that could not communicate with a marketing person to save their lives, or a salesperson. And the salespeople, they would get frustrated trying to talk to us. So that was actually a big part of my job there, is trying to be a liaison, try to, okay, I understand what you want and what you're trying to say and why they can't do what they're asking for. And being able to try to translate that and communicate back to either party as far as what they need. And a student being able to understand that terminology, understand the technology underlying, such things like, you know, networking and infrastructure, the hardware, the software, terminology even behind database design and development, whether it's being called a table in one place, an entity in another place, a column, a field, an attribute. Understanding that, I think, is very helpful. In my situation, yes, because I'm teaching technology, and I have to make sure that they're at a certain level to get there. We do have a lot of professors that don't use technology or don't want to use technology. I think that in order to, it depends on what their topics are, but I think they need to at least be able to understand and show examples of things, whether, you know, they're teaching marketing, being able to at least communicate, oh, look, they're using, looks like they're using this kind of content management system. If they can at least show examples, be able to you know, explain what they're using, what the companies are using, or what are these different techniques that are being used, I think is helpful. However, you know, if you're teaching a topic that doesn't necessarily have to have technology, there's an argument there. I'm a technology person, so I'm always going to argue that there's always a technology aspect to any business right now. So teaching accounting, I still think you can go online and show them, you know, different things that different companies are using, or being able to show them, you know, they got to know Excel, or show them some of these other programs. There are people that will argue against that. I do work with a lot of the teachers in my department, as far as I do some small workshops. I also did some a couple summers ago for all faculty at Berklee. They could sign up and take, you know, how can you develop materials that you can put on, you know, our campus cruiser system. How to make movies using PowerPoint, how to record yourself, use GarageBand and be able to import your images, speak over top of it, you know, record examples, you know, bring in your sound clips, a lot of these things that they don't know how to do. And there are, again, some people that are very resistant to doing that. But trying to make it as user-friendly as you can, I think, is the most important thing for a lot of these people that don't want to use technology. At least for the most basic components you want them to use, try to make it, try to speak in their language, try to make it not intimidating to them. I think a lot of these things still, right now, they open it up and they're like, you know, my 10-year-old can do this, but I don't know how to do this. I really want to take our department, continue to take us to a higher level technology-wise. I came here, there were, you know, maybe 3 courses, but they were also using, they were kind of behind. And I came in here and I rewrote 3 of the courses. I developed 2 more. And I really want to bring in technology into a lot more of the courses. For example, yes, we have existing marketing courses, but part of those marketing courses should be bringing in technology. We shouldn't just be talking about marketing with no technology component to it. Same thing with the legal classes. Same thing with the entrepreneurial classes. Any of those, I'd like to see more of that stuff kind of pulled in as a component. And if it doesn't work the way that they're being taught now, then let's develop a course that we can have them kind of work together so that they get all of that information. When students come in, they have to buy a laptop that comes bundled with a basic set of software. If you're in certain majors, they may also offer additional software that you need to buy for those majors. As far as the bundle program goes, I'm not sure how well that's working. Only because I'd say that you could buy this bundle, then you could change your major. You could buy this bundle and not take the course that software applies to until 2 semesters later, then you need a new version of it. Or they change it and they stop using it. We have used, like when I came here in 2003, they were using Digital Performer. Within a couple years, oh no, now we're using Logic. So I think that it's difficult to say, let's buy this all at the beginning. However, when any kid comes in here, they have to take 4 semesters of Harmony. They have to take 4 semesters of ear training. Those are basic things. There's even more to it. But just having those, they do need to have the ability to work with a small keyboard, do some ear training exercises, be able to program in their projects. They can also record them live. They do still have that option. But they give them a little keyboard that they can plug right in their computer, and they could, type, play in their little Harmony projects, or download some little software examples, recorded examples for ear training, and test themselves on the intervals or harmonic ear training, that sort of thing. So I think that sort of thing is great. I mean, when I was a student here, you had to go to a special lab and then you could sit in there for an hour and use ear training programs, but there wasn't a simple way to just have it right there for you. So I think that is great. Can we depend on it for a lab? No. I definitely wouldn't say that those replace having a controlled environment to teach.
So thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.